wouldn't see me anymore. Hurt so bad when she said you're not my kind. Yeah, I sped away driving and crying. Thought I would hold your pain when I heard it raining out in Georgia again. Baby, smile, don't you know? Whoa, I was saying, you know I'm a radio. I was driving back to where I had grown.
Yeah, how you doing? You on a Robert Jeter Show Blues in the News, coming to you live from Atlanta, Georgia. Playing a little tune there called Saved by My Radio. It does help. Music definitely helps. You know, in these times, sometimes everything is blowing up in the world. Sometimes you just want to put on the earphones and just escape totally into some really good music, you know. So definitely, whatever saves you, man, go for it. Whatever gets you through the night, you know it's all right. So yeah, I'm not going to give you my 3 cents or whatever it's worth. Talking about, you know, grabbing hold to whatever save you. I mean, today was my religious day, right? I'm Jewish, so I do keep the Shabbos. And you can learn a lot by just reading what they call the portion of the week. You know, every week there's a different portion of the Bible that is read in the shul. And this week we read, this is like the second chapter in Deuteronomy, chapter 23 actually. And it's basically Deuteronomy is just a repeat of what happened before Moses is just writing down what happened before, you know, where we are now, and they're getting ready to go into the promised land. Of course, he can't go. He's not very happy about that, but God says, I'm sorry, man, you can't make it. You're going to have to appoint Joshua as the main man, and I'm sorry, you're going to have to take a ride up to see your forefathers because he can't make it to them. And that's various reasons why he couldn't make it. People say because he hit the stone. Maybe when he got mad at the stone, he hit the stone. But there are various reasons, which I won't go into now. But he was warning the people, and he saw, of course, being a prophet, he saw what would happen. You know, they would go into the land, conquer the land, you know, and get fat and happy, and then they would start doing bad again. I mean, that's really the story of history, you know. The story of the Jews, but the story of just about every civilization is, as soon as you get fat and happy, you get arrogant, you know what I mean? You start doing crazy stuff. You don't do what you should be doing. And as far as the Israelites goes, I mean, they have the Torah, they have the laws written down, what you should do, you know, do not kill, do not worship idols, etc., etc. And as long as you respect the divine, you know what I mean, you're going to have a pretty good life. And I think it goes with whether you're Jewish or Christian or Muslim, whatever. You know, if you do the right thing in a righteous way, I'm not talking about these Muslims who want to kill everybody and the Jews and everything, because I don't only think they worship the same God. They worship the devil. You want to, I really do believe. But, you know, if you are a righteous person, no matter what your religion is, and you live in a society that respects the higher power, God, in whatever form you want to see it, then I think the country will prosper, and you'll benefit from it. You'll be blessed. But on the other hand, if you don't, you know, if you start doing all this weird stuff and turning girls into guys and guys into girls, and you know, disregarding the idea that there's a God, and disregarding the Torah, the Bible, then you're going to have grief and misery. And that's where we are today, because so many people have turned away from God. Not that I'm a preacher or a rabbi or anything, but it's obvious. Just look at history. You said, well, look at the Romans. They had great empire, and they had, you know, all these idols and stuff. Yeah, but they didn't last forever, you know. And when they did the well, they respected. Basically, they respected everybody's religion. They didn't you know, put down any religion, so per se, as long as you didn't come back and say you wanted to rebel against the empire. that was a problem. And that was the whole problem with the Jews when they didn't like the fact that the Romans were oppressing them. And there's some talk about rebelling against them. Of course, they didn't like that. But bottom line is, when you believe in God and you do what God wants you to do, man, you'll be okay. But you can see that doesn't last. I was reading articles also by, and anyway, Moses was saying that in this part of the Parsha, this part of the Bible, he was reminding of people what was going to happen, And it's always a reminder. And, people, and they don't learn. It's easy to be fat and happy and just say, do I really need to do all this? Mitzvahs, we call them in Hebrew. And then I was reading an article by Rabbi Sachs, Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. And basically he was saying the same kind of thing. He said that, our civilization, America, and he was talking about America basically, and England too, was built on Jewish Christian values, and that a lot of the founding fathers knew Hebrew, knew the Old Testament well, and respected the Jewish religion and gained a lot from reading the Old Testament. Of course, they weren't exactly the same kind of Christians you have today, or prior maybe. They were more believing in a God that was not maybe so personal, but one that existed and that laid the groundwork for what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And of course, the Constitution was built around that idea, and all our institutions were built around that idea, and that's what made America great. But look at it today, because we totally want to do away with the Constitution. We want to do away with our history. We want to do away with their institutions, the way traditional institutions. So we can do whatever we want to do, right? If we want communism, we'll have communism, We'll, if you want to marry your horse, you can marry your horse, So that's why we're having the misery, and that's why the world is blowing up. Now, is Israel the salvation for the world? I mean, some people think, especially among some certain Jews, that maybe we are the reason we were put on earth, to be not to be greater than anybody, be better than anybody, but really to be the priest of the nations, to show them the example that there's only one God and that he expects you to do certain things. You don't have to be Jewish. You can just follow the Noahide laws, which are basic laws to be a righteous person. And then, we'll all prosper together. But if you don't, we'll all be cursed. And I hate to say that we're cursed right now, but, we've been going downhill for quite a while. And every time you look at the news, you see how corrupt and bad it is. I mean, look at how did Kamala Harris ever get where she got to be where she is, and it's a big possibility that she might be the president of the United States. It's unfathomable to me. I can't believe it. But here she is, laughing her way into the White House. But I think her honeymoon is over. I can't believe she will get elected. Unless they steal the election again, which they might do, or if they try to kill him again, which they might do. And I'm talking about the assassination of Trump that happened back in Butler, Pennsylvania last month. It seems that the body was cremated. The guy, the shooter, his name Cook, that the FBI cleaned up that mess right away, and they cremated the body before the body could be examined. And they washed down that roof wherever he was, so nobody could come back and look at the evidence. So there's a big cover-up, and even people say there was a second shooter. So, I mean, there was a big, scandal when Kennedy got shot and killed, and people think really Johnson was behind it with the mafia and the FBI. So I mean, it could have been a setup here too. I mean, we live in such a great country, but there's a dark side of this country that is destroying it. And if justice is never served, it's like a cancer. If you don't fight the cancer, if you don't try to get it out before it, gets too late, you're going to die. So it's the same thing, which is corruption in our society. And even Robert Kennedy Jr. He's also running as an independent, I guess. He tried to join the Democrats, but they didn't want it. But anyway, he says this Democratic Party is nothing like the party of his father and his uncle. It's totally been taken over by the communists, by the Marxists. I mean, if you read anything about Obama when he first got involved with social organizing, all his friends were Marxist, communist, and even jihadist, Palestinians, whatever. I think he's more Muslim than he is Christian, but these people are very much on the left, even though they might talk smooth. I mean, with Obama's case, anyway, he was a smooth talker. He was a cool operator, that's for sure. But what he started, of course, it started probably back in the 60s, not further, with this idea of making America communist. It really started with him. And Kamala doesn't even have to talk. She can go hide. Everything's in place. She can be like Biden, go into the basement, or, Trump's out there transparent. Maybe you don't like what he says, maybe you don't like to talk, but he is what he is, and he's transparent, and he really is altruistic. He really wants to do what's good for the country. And Kamala, I don't think she really cares about the country. I think she just wants the power and have fun, giggling all the way to chaos. Oh, and that's going to be, the DNC. That starts on Monday, and it's over 100,000 protesters. Anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, Hamas supporters are going to show up in Chicago. That's going to be a mess. I mean, they should be. It's one they didn't protest in front of the Republican convention, but a Republican convention went down so smoothly. It was a great convention. I was very inspired by all the speeches and everything. It was a class act. But this is going to be total pandemonium, I believe. Seems like. So it's going to be interesting next week with the DNC and Kamala and her vice president pick, who's at Herr Volz. I guess it's a German name, like Waltz, he's Volz in German. And he seems like he's a communist as well. I think he's been to China over 24 times, over 24 times. I wondered if he got any gifts and presents. I'm sure he did. He's responsible for all the mayhem that happened in his state after George Floyd, the Saint George Floyd, the greatest American who has ever lived, George Floyd. Remember him and how he died with the cop's knee on his neck, whether that was appropriate tactic or not. Anyway, he did pass away. Of course, he had enough drugs in his system to kill a horse, but that's beside the point. Anyway, so where am I going with this? Yeah, it's just, it's going to be total pandemonium in Chicago. But this is the world we live in. This is the world we live in. But yet, you gotta keep faith. You gotta think positive, and you gotta look for the good, because the good will win in the end. And with that, I'll say good night, and I hope you have a good weekend. It's Saturday night, and I'll see you next time. This is on the Robert Jeter Show, Blues and News. Hope we get on that. Hope Trump wins. I pray he wins so we can get on that gravy train. Here's a go. Here's a tune I done did called Gravy Train. Could be a Trump train. Yeah, here we go. All aboard.
Get on it, children. Get on it now. Don't wanna sound ungrateful. Don't wanna seem unkind. But there's some things been going down that just turn my head around. I know you know what I mean. Don't wanna get complicated. Don't like to mince my words. But when you take more than you need, well, they used to call it greed. Now they just call it good business. It's a big chain with no certain destination. It's a road show rolling right across the nation. Better get in on this good thing. Get on that gravy train.